Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Someone in the chat tell me if we are live, and then we will go and break down this Devils victory over the Edmonton Oilers, who have been to two Stanley Cups in a row. 5-3 victory for the New Jersey Devils. We will get going if somebody tells us that we are live in the chat. We are live. Christopher says we are live, so let's get into it. Devils defeat the Edmonton Oilers once again, who have been to the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row now. 5-3. Jack Hughes took over yet another game. This was yet another game where Jack Hughes just decides that he's going to take over the game, and he does so in an emphatic fashion. Obviously, almost getting a hat trick, scoring 2 goals, and just making some freakishly Jack Hughes-esque plays along the way. I'm your host, Ryan Novozinsky, joining you once again from the Prudential Center PR media room here. And thank you guys for tuning in. Too. Speaking of the Devils, we see the chat is blowing up right now, so we're gonna get down right into it. Let's start with some of these goals. I guess we'll kind of go period by period here. The first period was a little bit, kind of back and forth a little bit. Thought the Devils really found their footing in the second. These slow starts are getting to be, a small C concern for them, just because you don't always want to be on your heels and you don't always want to be adjusting. But I think Sheldon Keefe, if nothing else, Sheldon Keefe has proven that he can be a pretty darn good with in-game between the period adjustments. So, I guess it's that's why I say it's a small C concern for this Devils team, because I think that I trust Keefe a whole heck of a lot more than I trusted Lindy with these adjustments. You know, and playing from behind. There was a couple, I guess, highlights to kind of parse through from that first period. We'll start maybe with the changes on the power play. Keith talked about how it's going to be matchup based. I'm not entirely sure about moving Timo off that first unit, but again, if this is just going to be a matchup based kind of thing, I guess there's some logic there to that. But the second period again is where it really started to turn on for the Devils. Another penalty kill. It made it 15 straight, and eventually they made it 16 straight penalty kills for the Devils. And then Jack Hughes took over. Jack Hughes with the absolutely filthy goal that he had there. The feed from Brett Pesce, obviously, who was facing pressure against the walls. There's like a small little fruit fly in here. Brett Pesce facing pressure there near the wall, and still manages to get the puck to Jack at center ice. Jack darts through, dashes through 3 Edmonton defenders. I'm going to give Devils team reporter Sam Kassan a quick shout out here, because the way that he described it, he called it Jack's Moses-like ability to enter the zone and split Edmonton's defense there. Just a great play from him, and obviously, goes in the high slot and rifles a shot alongside from the left face-off circle. So Jack with just another highlight goal. I feel like every goal this game, just kind of belonged on a highlight reel. That's how one of my colleagues here, Daniel Amoya, framed it in a question to Sheldon Keefe after the game. But Jack Hughes again led the way and got the Devils, secured the Devils' first 4-game win streak in 1,006 days. Very, very impressive stuff. After a really slow start, because remember, I feel like this is you kind of forget it, because the Devils ended up kind of rolling the Oilers in this game. They didn't have their first shot till about 12 minutes in, and even before that, they didn't even have an attempt until about the 10-minute mark, or they might have had an attempt, but at the 10-minute mark, when I counted, they only had one shot attempt there, which is called Corsi. If you want to sound a little smarter when you're talking about that, but that's what the analytic nerds like to call it. A couple, notes I just want to get in from that first period there, because I think there was some positives to take away from there at the end. The Heischer line remains, I think, really strong, and they were gassed today. I mean, look, Nico today and Timo having to go up against some of the big boys on Edmonton, and that was some of the best players on the planet in Edmonton. So I thought they had a really strong defensive effort there, and trying to lock them down. Gritsuk at the end of that first period, Gritsuk had an excellent back check to stifle Leon Draisaitl of all people. So if you think that Gretzky can only get it done in one zone, you're mistaken. This is a guy that on the back check was really strong against, again, one of the best skaters and one of the best players on the planet. There was, some low lights too in that first, as we talked about. The shot differential was pretty bad, pretty ugly. Jack, I think there was, at the end there was, a wide open net that he kind of passed away the opportunity instead. Probably should have that. And I think there was a small defensive breakdown where I forget who the defender was, but it was a Devils player, and they literally looked like a turnstile. Like usually we say the word turnstile and it's like, oh, they just blew by the guy. No, 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 no. This guy, he actually spun around. I want to say it was Nico, but that would be out of character for him because he's such a great defensive player. But I digress because the Devils turned it on after that. Some stupid penalties here and there. The Devils really have to stay out of the box, but I guess they're not overly concerned about it just because this penalty kill has just been so darn strong this year. Again, 16 straight penalties killed off for this Devils club. Their goal differential too is ridiculous right now too, because if you think about it, I mean, they have a +2 goal differential when they're killing up penalties during this hot stretch that they've had. So really, really dominant showing there from a unit that has a new coach in Brad Shaw, coaching things up there and scheming things up there. So interesting to see. And then the rest of the game, we just had I talked about the Jack Hughes goal, the Jesper Bratt goal. Stick the mitts on Jesper Bratt. I feel like him and Jack just showed off their awesome handwork this game. Just some impressive work with the mitts, and Bratt stick handled it nicely, flipped it backhand, got the 2-0 lead there. And it was funny too, like that was right off of a face-off too. So planning wise, scheming wise, it wasn't great from Edmonton's part. You never want to see that as a coaching staff. I'm sure they're getting reamed tonight. Because no one was in the vicinity of Bratt. It was nobody there, and completely stifled. Gosh, why am I blanking? Who was in net tonight? It was Picard, obviously. Sorry, everybody. It's been a long day here at the Rock. It's been an interesting season so far. For all of you who said that I was bad luck for the Devils, think again, because ever since I came back, they're 4-1-0, and have a 4-game winning streak again for the first time since 2023. An insane stat. Just to give you guys some a little bit of color from the locker room, this was a great post-game moment. So it was actually James Nichols who asked Brett Pesce about the 31-month drought that the Devils had in winning a fourth game. And Pesce was asked the question, and he gave a great response on the camera, but then off camera, he is almost reflecting about it again after the camera turned off, and he says, "Oh, I don't know if can you curse on YouTube? Okay." He said the S word. He said, "Man, we suck," and then he said, "We suck." He said, "Shit," and then we suck. So that was a really funny moment after in the post game locker room there, just to give you guys kind of a look off camera. Connor Brown with the shorthanded goal. The way this play kind of came together was also a thing of beauty. I mean, you had Glenn Denning diving on the ice. The Devils are diving at pucks this year, and that's a really, again, positive sign for a team that's desperate in a good way. Playing like a desperate team, playing like every game is kind of a game 7 year, and a sign of a maturing team, which has been a big theme, which I think will continue to be a big theme going forward this season. It looked like Edmonton was going to get it back on the power play in their offensive zone, but Glenn Denning dove on the ice, desperately tried to clear it, didn't quite succeed, and then Brown swooped in, rushed down the ice, and it looked effortless from this guy, right? And the way that he kind of faked out Picard was really good, and he gave another great quote in the locker room afterwards, where he just said it was kind of funny for him. Him and Picard, I guess, had a great relationship in Edmonton. He gets the revenge goal. Jack Hughes again, unbelievable mitt work from Hughes. Fakes out, stifles Picard, and just the way that I'm describing it here is another one of those games where you can just tell kind of early on that Jack is going to take over. You could see a dominant shift, and you could just say, oh yeah, Jack is a threat to score a hat trick and then some tonight. That was one of those nights, and last game was one of those games as well, against two really tough opponents. Again, the two opponents that have been to the Stanley Cup final in the past 2 years. That's stuff you really want to see. That's all I have for notes here. Let's kind of dive into the questions, guys. Let's see. The chat is going strong right now. Let's start here with Obi-Wan Cannoli 13, who says 4 in a row, baby. Yes, again, first time since 2023. A lot of Devils were kind of shocked to hear that in the post-game locker room. Keefe, I believe, said before the game that he's going to kind of, keep that to us media folk to talk about. But yes, really strong sign for the Devils to win 4 games in a row for the first time in a long time. Shout out to that Twitter account that was, I forget the exact handle, but I retweeted them. It was one of those classic things where you see, have the Devils won 4 games in a row? And usually they'll tweet, no, no, no. And then today they finally were able to tweet, yes, for the first time in 1,006 days, we have won 4 games in a row. So shout out to them, and I'm glad that they finally got what they wanted. Rick Roma says, great win. Pesci looked great out there today. This Jack Hughes fella looked okay too. Yeah, one of the stronger games. I mean, Jack is just putting this is the kind of stuff that you see from Jack, and you just think, okay, yeah, this is a guy that can totally be in the Hart conversation this year if he stays healthy. That's always the big if for this guy, but the early showings have been nothing but impressive from Jack. And it's funny too, because those first 2, maybe 3 games, everyone was questioning, oh, like, is he off to a slow start? Like, what's going on with Jack? Is he still not healthy enough from that shoulder surgery? Is he not recovered quite enough? No, no, no. Jack it looks like himself. Obi-Wan Cannoli again. Pesci is goated. Pesci looks great, man. And look, a force in the defensive zone. That's exactly what he does. That's what he does. So that's the reason Fitzgerald signed him a couple years ago. But that pass too to Jack was really really a positive sign going forward for him. Not that we'll see that necessarily all the time, but for him to do what he did under pressure, and a guy that doesn't usually get that kind of thing off, I thought was a great sign. Gerald York, I love to bag on Fitzgerald, but that Connor Brown signing has been nails. Forget about his own goal whenever he's on the ice. I know the opposition is not scoring. I wrote down in my notes here that I just straight up said that Connor Brown might be the most underrated signing in the NHL this offseason. Pound for pound, he might be, man. I mean, look, this is a guy that like you mentioned, you don't even look to him to score, but he has that ability to do that as well. And not just that, there's a little more finesse to his game than I thought. I mentioned last stream that there was a sequence there where I saw him kind of just like deke his way in front of the net and try to fake out whoever was starting for Florida the other day. I already forget. It's been a long couple days here from my end. But for him to get to do what he did there, and show that skill in the offensive end, and for that not even to be the strong suit in his game, has been really nice to see. That, I mean, that line in general, I just think has been clicking pretty well. Let's see. Okay, we'll skip over a couple of these because you guys are just saying we're live. Nico, the fella who hopefully did well in his PSATs the other day, missed studying for his PSATs and stayed up with us until about midnight the other day. Yes, what a game indeed, Nico. Christopher, another great W. Special teams excellent again, and solid goaltending from Allen. Yeah, Allen deserves a shout out too. Let's kind of pull up the old nerd stats for him today, because I thought that I wonder. I'm sure it was a good game from him, nerd stat wise. Oh, actually, kind of not. Minus 0.54 goal save above expected, but obviously you get the win, and you'll take that. Probably, maybe some trickery there with the Curtis Lazar goal at the end. Shout out to Curtis Lazar for getting a goal, because of course he did, right? Like that was a given today. But I thought Allen had a great day, and I think Allen is the guy that's going to keep you afloat until Jacob Markstrom gets back, right? Someone asked me the other day, like, are you concerned that Dawes might play out of his mind, and it might be a conversation whenever Markstrom is eventually back? No, I don't, because I don't think he's going to get many opportunities. I think that Allen has proven that you can kind of give him reps like this, and he can handle that even at the age of 35 or however old he is, maybe 36. Um, it's a player that the cramps issues. I heard a little bit about that the other day. I guess that some goalies sweat more than others, and Allen's just one of those guys that sweats a little bit more than usual. You kind of see it after practice and everything like that. So the cramps is really, knock on wood, like the only concern that you have there. And even Sheldon Keefe he didn't necessarily seem concerned that this would be a long term issue, and he was the one that pointed out that that's something that he's dealt with in his career. Dubzilla 47. What a great win. Yes, I completely agreed. Basic guy, absolutely smothering win. Devils looking strong thus far. Look, I keep tweeting that the Devils look like a wagon, and I do not mince my words there, guys. That look, I would not be giving them, if this was just a fluky couple of wins here. I don't think that I would be singing their praises quite as much, even if they were 4-1. They're 4-1, and it's an emphatic 4-1, because we all talked about it. I heard all of you talking about it on Twitter, and I myself brought it up. The Devils' gauntlet of a schedule that they have to start the season. It was funny. I'm coming over from the Giants beat. The Giants had the same thing. They had a gauntlet to start the season, and we didn't exactly know how they'd fare. We just kind of chalked it up to, oh, maybe the cold start's coming. And for this Devils team, certainly not. They're passing the test and then some. That loss to Carolina at the beginning, kind of looks just like, I would love to see this team with a little more legs under them play Carolina soon. I don't know exactly when they have them next on the schedule, but I'm curious to see what they can do against Carolina next, because I think this Devils team is gaining a level of confidence that I'm going to make a bold proclamation here that I have not seen since that 22-23 season. There, I said it. There, I said it. So. You heard it here first. I think that this team is for real, and certainly going to make some noise in the Eastern Conference. Let's see what they can do in the playoffs. I picked them to go to the Cup this year. I picked them to lose to this Oilers team, but maybe they can prove me wrong. Maybe they can. Maybe, but the point being, this Devils team has a chance to go all the way. Dime Season says, when we won the Panthers game, it was good, but it was still on edge A. Or I was still on the edge a little bit just because it was a super injured team, but the Oilers are healthy, and we had a great game. What a great game. Dime Season, I couldn't have said it better myself. This was the ultimate test. The Panthers game, sure. I mean, I'm going to give them their praise for that, because I think, a win is a win, A, and B, that Panthers team is still really good and has gotten off to a decent start to the season, aside from that Buffalo loss, the other day. I think they deserve credit, because that Panthers team still has the bulk of their blue line, if not the whole blue line, and the Devils put them to the test. Obviously beat them, but this one was the real barometer, and the Devils passed it with flying colors. So yeah, all the more reason to be hyped about this Devils team right now. And look, I'm singing their praises right now. Things are going to swing at some point this season. It's just how a hockey season goes. But you're in the right to be bullish about this team. Dubzilla again. Dubzilla 47. Place was alive and boys delivered. Defense is looking strong under Shaw. He has done a great job, and the guys are buying in. Look, I mentioned this again last stream. I was almost shocked when I saw that they let Ryan McGill go last season. I know that he was someone that that Devils players liked, and they bought into the system a little bit. Shaw is better. Shaw is better. I mean, look, on the defensive structure on the penalty kill. The only word that I can use to describe it is relentless. It's relentless, and it's tenacious. You look at the diving play that Glendening made to nearly poke the puck away and try to clear it on that goal that right before that goal that Connor Brown eventually scored on the penalty kill. It's effort like that, and just systematically too. It's very sound and tenacious. So Yeah, you're totally right, Dubzilla. That a lot of these guys are buying into Shaw, and make no mistake, that is a massive reason why this team is rolling on the penalty kill at an unbelievable rate at this point. 16 straight penalties killed off. But stay out of the box. We looked it up before the game. We were kind of like, oh wow, like the Devils in penalty minutes. It looks like they rank 16th, but oh, that's a pretty dumb way to look it up. No, we looked up. Let me try to find the exact verbiage for you. Um, Time shorthanded per game, and the Devils rank fourth. They ranked fourth going into this game. Might have gone up just a little bit. That's not good. So the Devils had to stay out of the box, but maybe they're not complaining about it at all because these penalty kills are kind of giving them momentum too. But obviously you want to stay out the box. So keep it 5-on-5, Devils. Stop taking these dumb penalties and stop. I don't know. What are they doing to these refs? Because there's a lot of chintzy calls going against the Devils, it seems, these days. Alex Campbell, so happy about the win. But man, I will never not miss Henrique. I think a lot of Devils fans share that sentiment just because of the nostalgic factor. But yeah, obviously, he's still at it. Adam Henrique is. Basic guy says, missed you last game because I was out, but keep killing it, Novo. You keep coming back. Devils' first 4-game win streak. Coincidence? I think not either, basic guy. Thank you for my flowers there. Um, Matthias Wiggleham, I thought we would lose 1-0, and then Jack. That sums up my thoughts about tonight's game perfectly, man. Look, I thought that this was going to be a snooze fest. Devils didn't have a shot for the first 12 minutes of the game, and then Jack Hughes flipped a switch, and he can just do that. I mean, look, Jack Hughes, speaking after 2 games in a row, that that he must have done something great. So that's he's been doing stuff great um, for 2 games in a row here and taking over, completely taking over shifts, and it's not even just shifts at this point; it's entire games. Um, Dubzilla again. Dubzilla, you are climbing up the ranks in the chat here, man. I really appreciate that. The guys are watching each other's spots, sliding like crazy, and the pinch and push looks so effective. Yeah, couldn't have summed it up better there myself, there, Dubzilla. Let's kind of move on here because we've answered a lot of same questions, same players. Our big boys showed up today, showed up big time today. Great plays from Pesci and Glenn Denning. Yeah, listen, Keith mentioned something interesting in the post game. There's a reason that Glenn Denning is the first one to hop over the boards there on the penalty kill. This is a guy that they got on a PTO. Um, I've been really impressed with him. Look, James Nichols actually kind of sold me on Glenn Denning because I wasn't. I just thought PTO, like, okay, yeah, like we all try to hype up the PTOs during the off season, and it's just like August or September fodder before the season starts, and it's like, oh god, I have to write the PTO story, see what they can bring to the team. None of these guys are going to make the team. Maybe one, and they'll be a lineup floater. Glenn Denning's been a legitimate part of this lineup. Both on special teams and at 5-on-5. I think that fourth line's pretty solid right now. Obviously battered, and you'd like to see what Nason can do when he gets on there. Oh, by the way, the Devils still haven't had Stefan Nason in this lineup. So let's see what they can do when he comes back. But again, this team is rolling right now, so I wonder what kind of changes they're even going to make. Nico says, I would say I've been noticing really everybody except for Dylan. Dylan, I think, has been fine. I mean, he's been rock solid. Like, look, I think that Nemec and Dylan pairing kind of goes, it ebbs and flows a little bit, but yeah, definitely not noticeable. Definitely not a noticeable player. Some of these defensive defensemen really aren't. But you'd like to see him step it up a little bit. I completely agree with you there, Nico. Gritsuk, I think, was better today, but he's been a little quieter the past few games. No, I agree. I think there were. He's just started. He's just getting started here in the NHL, right? Just came over from the K, and he's a guy that will probably go through spurts here. But as I referenced before, that back check alone on Draisaitl at the end of the first period. I think it was on a power play as well, so that kind of takes away some of the momentum there from that play. But for him to stop that and keep pace with such a great player like that, really positive signs there. Really signs that of again a mature player in Gritsuk and a guy that can that I think as he continues to get more comfortable and show his scoring touch and keep showing off his great passing that he's been connecting with his line mates on. I think Gritsuk will heat up a little bit, but yeah, definitely a better game from him because he has been quieter the past few games, as you mentioned. Andrew, this game made me so much more confident in the team. We got past one test, now back-to-back test. If we can win back-to-back games, we are certified wagon. Yes, the Devils are still on wagon watch, I would say maybe, but I don't know. I'm ready to I'm ready to proclaim them as a full-time wagon. Just 5 games in here. Let me check out their schedule here to wrap up the month of October. Yeah, you're right. I mean, no, it's definitely a bunch of tests coming up here. Maple Leaves on Tuesday, Wild on Wednesday, as you mentioned, back to back. So that adds another interesting wrinkle to it. And then that not back to back, but back to back games against the Avalanche to kind of wrap up the month, and then a couple games against the Sharks sandwiched in between there. The Sharks games, whatever. I mean, fine. I guess they have some young skill. But yeah, those Avalanche games and then this back-to-back test coming up here. More litmus test things for this Devils team. More barometers for this Devils team to kind of hurdle over. So I'm eager to see what they can do because they passed 2 of the big ones here. Rumham86 says Allen been really solid so far. He sure has. I mean, keeping the team afloat amid some bad injury troubles in net. I wonder if we'll probably see Dawes, I imagine, in the next couple of games because as you mentioned, the back-to-back coming up. Grits has been doing Obi-Wan Kenobi 13. Grits has been doing the right things. Felt a little missing this game, but still made the right plays. Agreed there. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Rumham 86. Nice to see them scoring empty net goals. Someone has mentioned that to me. Is that a thing that they just didn't do last year? Because I keep hearing that. I don't know. Maybe someone can fact check that. Dubzilla 47. One thing I didn't like was Timo not in power play 1. You need to press for answers this week, Ryan. He has to be used there. So important. Dubzilla, I agree with you. Look, the answer to answer your question, it's that Keith Keith thinks that it should be based on a case by case basis, matchup by matchup basis, and I'm curious to see what he thought wouldn't work against this Oilers penalty kill with Timo there, because I just with things gelling so well. And not only that, for Timo to score last game, albeit at even strength, I just think he's been so effective at that right flank on the power play that I don't know why you'd move off of it. And I think that this is a team that, as evidenced by some of these lines right now, once they develop a little bit of chemistry and get things rolling a little bit, I think that's when you start seeing them. I think that's when you start seeing them boom. And that's pretty vanilla analysis, of course. That's pretty self-explanatory, just in hockey in general. But I don't know. I'm more of a keep the units together, and see what they can do, and see if they can get hot, rather than this switch it up approach. But I'm with you, Dubzilla, and I said this in my introductory video for this little YouTube show. If I asked a question that you think was stupid in the press conference, call me out for it in the chat. Go ahead. I'm willing to debate it. If I didn't ask a question that you think should have been asked in the press conference, call me out in the chat and I'm willing to debate it or take your suggestions. So that's a good suggestion, Dubzilla. I will certainly ask that this week. Matthias Wiggleham and some shorties. Yeah, good to see them get some shorties as well. I think Brad had one against Columbus or someone like that. And then you see Connor Brown get his today. Let's see. Dime Season says, I know he's on the opposing team now, but I was so happy to see Lazar get a goal. So it really sucked to see him constantly having nagging injuries. So happy he's on the ice playing. Yeah, no, it was up in the air whether he was going to get the nod of the lineup today. I guess he hasn't been playing a lot for Edmonton. It really is such a shame because I feel like there was a stretch there, maybe towards the end of that 22-23 campaign, and then in that 23-24, I thought he was really good as well. The injuries just hampered this guy so much. It was really tough to see for Lazar, a guy who's obviously a really good guy, but I think when he's at full health, he can be someone that is awesome as well, and a good player on the ice. Rumham 86. How have they not won 5 in a row since that long streak they had under Lindy Ruff? Yeah, it's head scratching, man. I think let's see, Andrew Ryan Novozinsky, Jinx E is not real after all. Agreed. I don't believe in jinxes. I think they're stupid, and I think that me tweeting out that, oh, will the Devils win 4 games in a row today is not going to impact the team in any sort of way. Damien from the land down under says 4-1 since the return of Novo. Please never leave again. I'm telling you, man, everybody told me that I was bad luck, and then I come back and the team starts winning in droves. Nico says, I feel like this could have been a game of the year for the Devils, with Connor scoring shorthanded against his own team. Was so special, and Jack playing like Jack. This was everything you wanted to see in a Devils win happen tonight. You saw, I think, great cohesion 5-on-5. You saw them having to make adjustments. You don't always want them to make adjustments, but it almost it makes the wins feel a little bit more real. Like, because if you're just dominating, from start to final buzzer, it just kind of feels a little fluky or whatever. Maybe the other team just had an off night. No, this was a team that had to adjust. This was a team that had to lean on their coach and then lean on their superstar player in Jack Hughes and then lean on their special teams. Both units dominated. So I would say that is all around a positive showing for the Devils. And 1 second, let me just pull something up right here. No, I mean the power play didn't exactly dominate, but obviously 1 for 3 tonight, but still decent showing from both special teams units tonight. We're going to wrap up in a little bit here, just because we're going to try to keep the streams a little shorter. So get your final questions in. We're actually going to go live tomorrow again as well. So if you guys have any more questions, we're going to answer some of those as well tomorrow. So be sure to tune in then. Guys, give suggestions. What time tomorrow do you think we should go live? Is there a particular time? Maybe in the morning? Maybe afternoon. I know there's football on tomorrow, so I don't want to compete with the NFL. But if we want to get more Devils talk in, I'm more than happy to. So throw in some time suggestions that work best for you guys in the chat. I'm more than willing to adjust to that. Did you get a chance to ask Keefe about the benching of Gritsuk last game? I thought he looked good. Gerald, I didn't. I'm sorry about that. I did not. I should have wrote that down. Any questions, suggestions? I'm going to start writing them down now, because I have ADHD. Have had it for a while. I've talked. I have a whole bunch of problems up here. I got ADHD. I got a little bit of the Tourette syndrome as well. Just a whole bunch of wacky stuff going on there. But a lot of that makes me forget. So I will start writing them down, asking about that. Maybe it's too late to ask about that, because, like you said, he looked a little better tonight. Matthias Wiggleham again. Our Connor Brown jerseys sold out of the store tonight. I wouldn't be surprised, man. He had a really good game. Damien says Jack Hughes is only warming up. Buckle up, rest of the league. Listen, as I mentioned in the first several streams, this was a Devils team that was winning even without Jack Hughes looking hot. So now that he's on kind of a heater here, to use his words, obviously positive signs for him and for the team. Shout out to the Devils, by the way. I got one of these sweet little beer sticks tonight, so I'm excited to. I might have a couple adult beverages out of that tonight. Christopher says back-to-back games Tuesday and Wednesday will be another big test. Yep, we already talked about that. Maggie says Connor Brown has been better than I expected, and Jack being back to himself is a sight for sore eyes. We've talked about that a lot this stream, so I won't dive into that too much. But I just think Connor Brown. I'm glad to see him getting the flowers that he deserves here on this stream. I feel like a lot of the questions have been and a lot of the comments have been about Connor Brown. So good to see him getting that, because he certainly earned it. I mean, this is a guy that, as mentioned, is, I think, proving to be the most underrated signing in the league right now. Legend Killer 97. I wish they would start games better. I feel like they seem disinterested in first periods. Look, this was a problem. This has been kind of an issue for the Devils. I feel like extending back a couple years now. Maybe last year was a little different. You guys would know better than I would. Under Lindy, it just was, there were never any fast starts. I mean, there was a reason that you would have the 1-0 deficits, which we've joked about so much. The first periods need to be better. You need to clean those up a little bit, because if you start getting into holes and then you start forgetting how to come out of those holes, and the league starts catching up on what Keefe's adjustments exactly are, then you will get yourself buried. So you definitely need to clean up those first periods. That's all I gotta say. Brian Pohm says, "Hey Ryan, big fan. Any chance the Devils bench Palat once Nason comes back? Seems like the biggest anchor on this team." I don't think they will bench Palat. I don't know exactly how the lineup's going to shake up once Nason gets back. I think once Nason gets back, they're going to start him on the fourth line. But once they kind of get into the swing of things, maybe he earned his way up into that top six. I just think the top six is just buzzing so much right now that you don't want to break it up, especially that Nico line. Um, and I don't. I would be weary about breaking up that third line as well, because I just like the way that those three guys play together. It's going to be interesting to see, to follow that. But for starters, I think Nason's going to start on the fourth line where he was in practice the other day, when he filled in for Hallinan. Um, at some point, they're going to have to get Palat off of that line, because while I do concede that he does do a lot of these little things right that we talk about, and while I understand that the Devils fans are frustrated that, that he makes $6 million a year or whatever ridiculous number it is, and we're only talking about these little things he does right. Um, the forecheck he had the other day, that relentless forechecking style that he played with the other day, he created opportunities for Jack and Jesper, and not just that. I mean, but then the negative side of that is that you see Jack Hughes. I think there was, maybe it was at the end of the second period. Jack Hughes had a nice little tic tac pass to Andre Palat in front of the crease there, and the shot just goes wide. So man, if Jack Hughes, who surveys the ice so well, was just feeding it to anybody else, it would just look so much better. If we just got a scoring wing for Jack, I think this team is going to be a certified wagon, at some point this year. So that needs to be near the top of Tom Fitzgerald's priority list. There was another point that I wanted to note too. There was a shift where Jack made a late change, so he was still out there with some of the fourth line guys. I think it was Glendening and Hallinan. So Jack Hughes just makes a ridiculous no look feed to Hallinan, and it reminded me of when you're playing pickup basketball and you have a guy that used to play like Division 1, or or sorry, not Division 1, like Division 3 hoops, and he's like making no look passes in the paint, and you're just like, oh man, we're just like guys that are coming off the couch. I can't follow this. So like the passes kind of like go in a guy's face or something like that. That's what it looked like when Jack Hughes was trying to feed it to these fourth liners, and that's not a knock on them. I'm not even dissing Brian Hallinan there or anything. I think Jack Hughes's vision is just so good, and he thinks so quickly. That's what James Nichols said too in the press box. He thinks so quickly that I don't know if there's many players even on this team, that can think as quickly as him, and kind of read those decisions that he's going to make. We're going to take a couple more questions here, just because we have to wrap up. Rumham86 says, if Jack wasn't playing so well, Bratt would be getting talked about more. He has looked great throwing the body tonight too. Bratt has been awesome to start the season. You just look at him in the penalty kill as well. That defensive game that he has had, for a number of seasons now. But it's just kind of taking another step this year for Jesper Bratt, who the edge work is awesome. The chemistry with Jack is awesome. If those two get themselves a scoring winger, that line is going to be one of the more lethal ones in the league. Let's see, Gerald York. That last goal killed Allen's nerd stats. He was awesome again tonight. I figured as much that it would. So I think Allen will take it if you can get old pal Curtis Lazar some a goal there. Let's see, Andrew. I am much more confident in Allen than I am Markstrom. That is the question right now, man. That is the multi-million-dollar question. We'll spend the last 2 minutes of the show talking about that. Tom Fitzgerald went on SiriusXM today, and he talked about how that Markstrom is a player that they would love to sign long term. I have my reservations about that, just because of not only health concerns, but I was talking about it with someone last game. Markstrom is an excellent goalie, but he doesn't exactly he doesn't exactly fit that echelon of goalies like a Shesterkin, like a Sorokin, who obviously is not having an excellent start to the season, but I think at points he's part of that, like a Hellebuck, who they command that you pay them a lot of money and you don't even really think about it because you're just like, okay, they're going to get the job done for us. They're going to get us to the postseason. Maybe they kind of fizzle out in the postseason, but they're going to get us there. And the guys in front of them are going to have to figure it out. Until then, I'm very weary about playing Markstrom, especially long term, because that's what the reports have been coming out about that. I'm going to try to dig into that a little bit more myself, but we will see here in the next coming days. I'm with you though, Andrew. I think I'm just starting to trust Allen. Until Allen proves otherwise, why he can't be trusted, I don't see why there's any reason why you shouldn't trust him. He's a guy who's had experience. He's a guy who has been nothing but a W ever since he's come over from Montreal via that great underrated trade deadline for Fitzgerald there. So very curious to see what happens with this Markstrom stuff over the next couple of weeks. But that'll do it, guys. We're going to wrap up here at the 40-minute mark. Thank you so much for tuning in. Another Devils victory. We will see you again on Tuesday. Of course, we're going to be going live right after the Devils. We're going to be going live right after that game, too, because I am not going to Toronto. So we'll be going live from my home studio. Until then, once again, thank you so much for tuning in to Speaking of the Devils. Please be sure to like and subscribe and share our link. Guys, I asked you last time to share our link on Twitter, on X, on your preferred social media platform. I really hope that you guys do that this time. And please tweet at DuckDuckGoosehead. If you want to hear an obscure Devils player, tweet any number from 1 to 97 at the Twitter handle at DuckDuckGoosehead, and he will be able to name one for you. For Ryan Novozinsky from here at the Prudential Center, have a great day, everybody.